combat Stimms. I stand. In the midst of this horror, I stand, hands hanging at my side, my blade barely gripped. Its tip touches the ground, buries itself in the bloodied mud. I look out on the plains. What have we done? Covered, every inch, every pace, every place on this battlefield is a morass of blood and offal, guts, limbs, heads, rivulets of blood. And I stand, a mire of red over my body, only now clearing from my eyes. For the best part of an hour we ran, rushed, charged. We gulped at air and moved like lightning. The enemy had come in huge numbers, greenskins, and we had met them. I watched as their tide crashed towards us, and we were shuddering as they came on. The first rush of it I could practically smell. Fear. When their forces cleared the horizon and bellowed that horrific Xenos scream of theirs. They had just rushed us. No tactics, no bombardment, no clever or cunning ruses. They simply charged us. Our lines fired and fired and fired. Las weapons twinkling in the night, greenskins burnt and crisped. Yet still they came on. And it was then that we were instructed to get up, out of our dugouts, out of our positions, out of our protection. For upper command did not want them to actually reach our lines. Why? I will never know. The iron collars around our necks marked us out as penal warriors, the men and women who had been taken from prisons. A gun thrust into our hands and barely enough training to even aim it. But this day, we were all given melee weapons. Some few had chainswords. Most had bayonets to put on their las guns. Others, like me, had simple weapons of metal, swords, maces, and the like. And they ordered us up. We all moved up onto the plain via trench ladders. Then, only a minute before the enemy would hit us, we heard the dispensers activate and felt a piercing pain for a second. Then all consciousness was washed away. All thought, all remorse, all pity, but also all pain, all fatigue, all fear. And we were unleashed on the enemy. The thousands of us ran to meet them, to the carnage. And I am glad that I did not witness any of it. I'm glad I will never remember a single second of it. Due to the Stimms in my body, my mind vacated it. I was not myself. I was a thing of war. We all were. And I stand, and I look on the field. And there in the distance are the Xenos, dead to a man. But it did not end there, obviously. For some of the orcs must have gotten around us and hit the lines, and somehow we must have turned around. And, oh Holy Emperor, what have we done? For I stand on the field a full mile away from where the Xenos were, a mile behind our own lines. And as my mind finally cleared, the red mist removed, all of the bodies I see beneath me, festooned across the camp, they are human men and women. Holy Emperor, what have we done? Welcome, gentle listener, I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the factions, faces, and forces of the Warhammer 40k setting. The grim darkness of the far future. where there is no time for peace. There is only time for war. We also have channels for mythology and natural history, links in the description. We now also have super thanks, so like, subscribe, and throw me a coin if you enjoy the video more than usual. Or Patreon, of course. Again, links in the description. Now, let us proceed. For today, we are to discuss one of the more unpleasant aspects of the battlefields of the far future. Combat stimulants, or drugs. In so many of the regions and factions of the setting, there is no value in life, stability, measured behavior, or the individual. And the use of these stimulants takes a dramatic, if not deadly, toll on their users. Now, only 3 factions are most known for their prolific use of these resources, for they are not to be used lightly. The warriors of the Chaos Warbands are the first, most especially the Jackals, being the world-eater cultists, whose drug-infested rage is almost on a par with their masters, who have the permanent effect of the butcher's nails in their noggins, and of course, the endless pageants of the worshippers of the Prince of Pleasure. For Slaanesh adores for his supplicants to be chewing their faces off, both in combat and at play. The next group would be the Drukhari, the Eladrithanese, the dark and twisted kin of the Eldar who hail from Khorne. Their witch cults and spire gangs take narcotics to improve their abilities, as nothing but the very best will ever suffice for a whirlwind of spite like the Dark Eldar. But the last, surprising to none I would imagine, is the Imperium of Mankind. Entire penal legions can be given massive injections of stimulants to augment their abilities, for the penal legions are seen as dead already. So what harm can really be done to them? Their entire existence is now for the burning away of their sins, so that the Emperor can take them into his outstretched arms upon their expiring. But only if they have done his great works. And for that, the barely equipped warriors of the penal legions are boosted to the high heavens, just to make their initial impact all the more telling. Drugs. And the Astartes themselves are awash with chemicals that improve and stabilize their formidable might. But the use of combat stimulants in the grim darkness of the far future always comes at an incredibly high cost to the individual taking them. For a slight gain or edge in any field is simply not enough. Marching all night before battle is useful, but resources are limited. So if the Imperium is to use enhancers, then a resultant return on investment must be incredibly high. Thus, the drugs that are deployed to the soldiery in the setting are of such potence that the human form cannot ever hope to imbibe them without catastrophic cost. The toll of using these drugs is either the mind or the body, or both. But let us now gain a better picture of the existing types of combat stimulants of the period. And so, as usual, for the very basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, combat stims. Combat drugs, or combat stims, come from a variety of sources and have a wide range of effects, usually temporarily altering a user's mental state or increasing physical or mental performance in some way. Combat drugs are often seen as distasteful, in part due to the fact that the method of manufacture can sometimes include the liquidation of human victims. Such methods are mostly associated with Slaaneshi cults. Combat drugs are used by the Imperium to some degree, most notably by the ever-sought temple of the Officio Assassinorum, to produce extremely violent and nearly uncontrollable killers, despite the fact that this impressive cocktail of chemicals within their bodies can possibly produce explosive results. Combat drugs are also administered to the Penal Legion troops through such means as chem inhalers and Frenzon dispensers. This has the effect of easily and cost-efficiently making dependable soldiers out of undisciplined but otherwise suitably violent troops. Imperial gland warriors have permanently attached organs which release drugs during combat. Among Chaos forces, Slaanesh worshipping Chaos Marines regularly make use of combat drugs to increase their ability to fully experience the exhilaration of battle. And Dark Eldar witchcults are known to regularly use a variety of combat drugs to enhance their ballistic dexterity even further, even though their effect is known to dramatically shorten the life expectancy of the user. The list of known stimulants and effects. Frenzon. A generic term for psychological controlled drugs, inducing many different mental states, such as frenzy, hatred, fear, etc. Calmer. A name for a general group of euphoric sedatives, often used for medical reasons or for keeping captured prisoners compliant. Stim. Also known as rage or satrophine or gamma AE. Names of different combat drugs inducing similar effects, speeding up the user's reflexes and movement, and increasing physical strength and endurance. The longer the drug remains in effect, the greater the chance of the drug causing injury. Stim is known to mask pain and push the user past the point where their body would usually give up. Onslaught. Increases a user's perceptions and reaction time at the cost of reducing all other mental activities, sometimes permanently. Psychon. Increases strength by adrenaline manipulation, though it places the user in an uncontrollable rage. Reflex. Increases reaction time again, but also increases susceptibility and vulnerability to psychic attack. Barrage. Doubles the user's physical performance, but causes catastrophic physical damage within minutes. Slaught. Increases speed, but at the possible cost of one's neurological function and toughness. Spook. Increases the user's psychic potential, but makes their mind more susceptible to mental damage while they do so. Spur. Randomly increases physical performance, though it may cause injury. Fury. An illegal combat stim that induces berserk fits of rage, as used by the Jackals. Cynomorphide. Enables certain mutants to change their appearance. Cytoprene. Wipes the user's memories irreversibly. And Clay. Sharpens all 5 senses and improves recall. Now the Dark Eldar use a separate set of stims, and here they are. Hypex. Increases the user's speed. Serpentine. Increases the user's skill with their weapon. Grave Lotus. Increases the user's strength. Painbringer. Increases the user's toughness. Adrenalite. Increases the power of the user's attacks. Splintermind. Increases the user's morale. End quote. The use of combat stimulants has been a part of warfare since we humans discovered the effect of some plants and herbs. From the Hashashin to the berserkers of the Nords, we have always used any kind of edge possible to win. And in the grim darkness of the far future, the stakes are so much higher. The battle so desperate and dismal, the use of combat stims is considered a necessary evil by some, a positive by others. But they can never be a replacement for skill and ability. It is the crowning achievement of the impossible claim that Lilith Hesperax, the killer queen of the combat arenas of Khorne, that she takes no stims whatsoever and never has. So in essence, it is acknowledged by all that the use of these things, these temporary enhancers, are an admittance that one cannot perform without them. That the man or woman who keeps their mind clear, their body a shrine to perfection, can best even the most horrifically chemically augmented adversary, if they train enough, if they endure, if they learn enough. And that then the victory is purely theirs, not the rewards of effectively cheating. For taking stims or any performance-enhancing drug robs the individual of the truth of the matter. What am I capable of doing? Where are my limits? What is my absolute best? In my mind, at the least, I would want to be known for my strength, my power, my ability, not what I could get my hands on. Live or die, sink or swim, I would rather do it as me than anyone or anything else. And it is this that makes the best of the best, a cut above the peerless. The ability to resist temptation, the quickest and easiest path, and to stand and fall on their own. Nor is the frenzied formation as much of a boon to its commander as one might imagine. Oh yes, a berserk unit can do catastrophic damage to the enemy, but they are just as likely to do it to their own. For in the cut and thrust, the confusion of the battlefield, then nearly all can appear as enemies to those who have given leave of their faculties. And the berserkers you have so tidily pointed at the enemy can just as easily turn to either side, or simply swivel fully 180 degrees, and then start hammering your own forces. To use such troops on the battlefield is to spin the wheel of chance, and nobody can ever know if the investment and danger are worth the risk until the battle is fully done. For in the grim darkness of the far future, how one gains a victory can be as important as its achievement at all. Thank you for your precious time. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.